try to hitch a ride. Let's see how we do here. Come on, he's slowing down. Looks good, he's slowing down. Hey! That's necessary. Okay, well, you can't get bummed out about it. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Oh, he's slowing down, he's slowing down. Hey, where are you heading?
Mom's house!
Ah! I just came from your mama's house! All right. Like I said, just put that behind you. Let's try another one.
Get the hell out of the way!
Hello. Welcome to today's edition of how to get around the Sierra without a car. Specifically, we're going to talk about hitchhiking today. Just a precaution beforehand. It's obvious that it's not for everybody, but if you do it right, it can be safe. If you're solo, it may be a little more dangerous. If you're a woman, obviously it's more dangerous. But I've done it a lot. I've even hitchhiked with my daughter, and it can be safe if you just take certain precautions. We're going to talk about that. So, first of all, what do you say when you go up to a car, when a car does stop? You want to do kind of a once-over. Look at the driver. Does he look drunk, or she? Is there a gun on the front seat? I got in a car once with a gun on the front seat, and then we went down a dirt road while she looked for deer. That was one you should say no. You need to know when to say no. So you talk to the driver, ask where they're going, and if they're going your way and they look okay, maybe you should get in the car. So if you decide backpacking is for you, check it out and I'll give you some tips. Now, the most important thing is probably location of where you're backpacking. I mean, where you're hitching a ride. So obviously they need a place to stop, where they can pull over, somewhere where you're really visible, and somewhere where you be aware of where you are. If you're in the mountains where there's trailheads around, you know, your friends are other campers and outdoor oriented people. If you're in a town, I've learned the hard way on this one too, you got to go to the edge of town. Same at junctions. If there's a junction right ahead, get out to that junction. You're gonna have to walk a little bit sometimes to do this, but nobody's gonna pick you up in the middle of town. They're all going to eat, doing things, and they're getting gas. Edge of town by a gas station, great place to get a ride. So get in the right location and stick your thumb out and see what happens. So obviously if you can't get a ride if there's multiple people. If there's like 4, you split up into 2 groups. One's easier than 2, but I know this from experience. If you have a girl with you, in the trail world, we call those ride brides, because they get picked up more often than not. So if you have a girl with you, stand by unthreatening near her maybe, and have her stick her thumb out. It's a sexist world we live in, so if you're trying to get a ride, maybe you take advantage of that. But be careful out there. So the other thing is you want to look right to be picked up. So you have a split second to make an impression on these people coming by. Now, me, with this current look, if I didn't have a backpack and some hiking poles to make it obvious that I am a hiker, people might assume I'm homeless. That doesn't happen too often, but it could. So take advantage of the homeless look. People sometimes will pick you up because you look interesting if you have a backpack. If you don't have a backpack, you're just a homeless guy. If you got hiking poles and a backpack, you've probably got interesting stories that somebody might want to hear. So think about that. The other thing is smart to do is put your backpack right at your feet when you're thumbing a ride, and maybe hold one of your poles up. Make it look really obvious that you're a backpacker. But make your pack and stuff look small. You want to look compact so you're going to fit in the car. So the other thing on appearances is don't wear sunglasses, because you have that split second when people come by. You want to make eye contact, look like you're having fun, look like you're not on an adventure, put your thumb out, smile, wave to them. Don't look threatening at all. I'll guarantee you, some people will turn around when they have a chance to scope you out. I do that when I pick hitchhikers. I'll go by. I've turned around and picked people up because they looked like interesting people. So keep that in mind. So the other thing is to clean yourself up best you can. Obviously, you're on the trail. You're in between trailheads. You're probably not the cleanest guy in the world, but carry some baby wipes with you, and at least get your pits and other areas that stink. You know what I'm talking about. When you can smell yourself, you stink. And I had the unfortunate experience on a particularly really long hitchhike. It was probably 40 miles. Me and a friend had been 8 days in the snow, didn't have a chance to really clean up. We were just trying to get to our car, and we stunk. We tried to clean up, but we didn't have any baby wipes. And at the end of the hike, the guy who gave us the ride handed us some baby wipes and said, use these, you guys stink. So that was really rude of us. He understood, but don't do that. So the other thing I've learned by having the pack visible, sometimes I like to do hikes between two trailheads. Instead of going out and back, I'll leave my car at one end and I'll hitchhike back to where I'm starting from. And what I've been doing is I take my bike and ride down the mountain several thousand feet and get back to the junction where I'm going up. It might be 20, 30 miles away. Once I rode about 25 miles to the next junction to get up the next hill. You don't want to ride up the hill because it's going to take too much energy out of you. And then I just ditch my bike in the bushes and hide it real well, or lock it to a tree or something out of sight. It's worked well to get me to that other trailhead, but I have had terrible success getting a ride. I've had more than an hour waits on roads going up to trailheads. Shouldn't take that long. The problem was I didn't have my pack with me. I left it. I didn't want to carry it. I left it at the trailhead. So without a pack, I'm just a homeless guy. So it makes a big difference. I know it sounds little, but I know from experience it helps. Something like this. Make a sign. You're homeless. They won't mind you poking around the dumpster out behind the garbage can. They'll just think you're another homeless guy. But no, seriously, you can ask for a pen inside a store, gas station. They're gonna let you probably use it and find a piece of cardboard. This helps a lot. Just tells people you're not homeless. You're going nearby. You know, put the name of your trailhead. I'm going to, Tuolumne Meadows or whatever. And another thing, if say you're in a park, and if you have a park pass, hold up that parks pass. That might help get you a ride because that'll get you in the park for free. I think Yosemite's up to $30 if you have that pass. Hold that up, but I don't like the I will pay you or hold up and put money on my signs. That attracts the wrong people. I wouldn't recommend that. But if you have the money and somebody's nice enough to pick you up, I always offer gas money. And sometimes people take it, sometimes they don't. But it's a nice courtesy to do that. So once you're in the car, be nice, be engaging. They picked you up for a reason. They probably want to hear your stories. Sense people. If they just want you to shut up so they can drive, do that. But give them a story. Tell them what you're doing. Tell them how awesome it is. And 9 times out of 10, they're really interested in it. And one of the reasons is just to be an interesting person, is just to be nice. But the other thing is, oftentimes you're just getting a trail to the next junction. And you might be able to convince these people to take you all the way to your trailhead. I've had that happen where, they might take me within a couple miles of where I want to go. If you chat them up and you're nice to them, they might take you all the way to your trailhead. So think about that one. So, again, be patient. Sometimes it takes a long time. There's other things you can do when you're getting close to a trailhead, when you're exiting. Maybe you're going into town, you're doing a through hike. I'm mostly all my hitchhiking's in the Sierra, so that's my experience. And the people in the mountains are much more likely to pick you up, especially when you're near mountain towns and trailheads. So a good thing to do towards the end of your hike is start chatting up your fellow hikers. They might have a car at that trailhead, and you might need to get a ride from them or give them a ride. I always try to volunteer to give people rides too. And if all else fails, you can call shuttles, or if you have cell reception, or you can go approach people. That's last. You don't want to seem desperate. So look like you're having fun, have a positive attitude. And one other thing, time of day has a big part of how successful you're gonna get a ride. If you're heading up some mountain road up towards a remote campground up a canyon, which is pretty much all the trailheads on the east side of the Sierra, at noon, not a lot of people are going up to those trailheads. People are going up early in the morning, and people are coming down in the afternoon. So if you're trying to catch a ride coming down, afternoon's a good time. If you're trying to go up, morning's a good time. Except on Fridays, a lot of people are going up late in the day to get a campground, things like that. So you got to plan those things, think, and don't take a ride just because it's a ride further down the road. It's better to if you have a good location, stay in that location. Ask where they're going. If they're only going a mile up the road, don't take it. You might get stuck in a really crappy area. So it takes some skill and patience, and you'd be surprised how many cool people you meet. And don't assume because people look all clean shaven and look pretty that they're not axe murderers. Just because I look homeless doesn't mean I'm not an axe murderer. But I'm actually, if the statistics show, it's less likely that it looks like I've been on the trail. It looks like I've been doing something cool. Looks like I might have a story to tell. Same goes with a driver. Just because it's some hippie driver doesn't mean he's more shady than somebody who's really clean cut. So use your radar, trust your first impressions, be careful out there, but it's really an invaluable way to get around in the Sierra. You'll meet some amazing people, and if you're doing a through hike like the PCT, you're gonna have to hitchhike. You're gonna have to learn how to do it, and it's part of the trip. It's part of the experience. It can be fun, and sometimes it can be a bummer, but it gives you some good stories to tell. So be careful. Happy hiking. All right, so I forgot a couple things just to wrap this up. First of all, would you give this guy a ride? All he's going to talk about is his new accounting programs and how it increased efficiencies 28%. Boring stuff. You're going to pick up the scruffy guy. He's going to be way more interesting. But anyway, a couple other things I forgot to mention just to wrap this up is when you get in a car with your pack, keep your poles and your pack with you at all times. If you stop for some reason, make an excuse to take your pack with you, because that could ruin a trip if something happened like that. So keep it on your lap. Don't put it in the trunk. I once forgot my hiking poles in a trunk, and I need hiking poles really badly. So that sucked. So keep your stuff together. Be careful. And one other thing I got to mention for backpackers, it's not an issue for me, but in national parks, weed's still illegal because federal has jurisdiction. So in some areas, hitchhiking is frowned upon. Usually national park is not a problem. But just in case somebody harasses you, don't have that in your possession. And in some places, hitchhiking is illegal. So they might pull a Rambo on you and drive you to the edge of town. If that's the case, just get outside of town and go to the next town and put your thumb out outside of town. Don't question the authorities. Just move on down the road. Keep a good attitude, keep smiling, and somebody will give you a ride. All right, thanks for watching.